Good Friday after the rain. Welcome to episode 18. I had a plan for the day. It's going to have to be modified, and let me show you why. I've done a little cleaning up and got out to the garden. Unfortunately, when I was going through security footage this morning, I did see a raccoon last night, and he did some damage. And some more damage. And some more damage. And some more damage. I may have to replant a whole bunch of stuff. That's really disheartening, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to keep him out. We'll look at that a little bit later. But the plan, the original plan, was to deal with the fertilizer. I finally sat down and figured out, when did I fertilize last? How often do I need to fertilize? Different fertilizers have different schedules. So ultimately, I've looked everything up. I did look up the palm that I didn't know before because the bag was so messed up. I was at the store, I found another bag, I looked it up. And I still have to look up the lawn fertilizer and figure that one out. But it looks like most things I can fertilize today, and then I'll be on a 6-week schedule. The roses are less often than that, if I remember right. So I'm going to have to go look at all of that, pull some stuff out, throw some fertilizer down, and despite the fact that it rained last night, I've got to water it all in. And I'm also going to have to check the sprinkler system because it looks like he really kind of dug down there. Oh, that's disappointing. He or she, I don't know. I mean, I was just starting to get things to grow. I did yesterday plant some little containers with seeds as backups in the backyard, and I watched the raccoon and he didn't go anywhere near them. So I'm guessing those have survived, but we'll take a look at that. So let me just crack this stuff open, see what my scheduling situation is, and get going with the fertilizing, and then we'll pick up from there. Okay, let's brighten things up a little bit. I got the fertilizing, well, I still got to do the general purpose fertilizer, which is with the hose and all of that, and then water everything in. But I just kind of wanted to check on something, and there's good news here, and actually more good news. So these are the little pots that I did yesterday off camera. I've got 3 of these patty pans because I was concerned that I somehow, when I planted all this stuff on the side, that I'd forgotten to plant those. So there may be a delay on some of these things starting. I was really trying to avoid going into May, but yeah, that's going. And here's the really good thing. Look at my tomatoes. That's really good. I've got, oh, I've even kind of forgotten. This is the genuine, as in brandy wine, and it's a beefsteak. So it's going to be a darker colored, like a chocolate colored beefsteak tomato. And that plant is doing beautifully. I did remember to put the old cage in there, so that's a good thing. Then next to that, I've got the Roma, and boy, this sucker is just taken off. I believe when I was looking for the Roma, I actually wanted to find a more compact plant, so I picked a determinate, not an indeterminate, if I'm remembering all of that right. So that's looking good. It's not spreading out too much outside of the box that it's in, and the root systems are going to be separate on all 3 of these tomato plants. The third one would be the yellow pear, and that is looking healthy as can be. Well, okay, there's some branches down here at the bottom that have, I'm just going to pick this off before it is an issue. I've got some brown spots on there, so I'm going to have to look that up and see if there's something I need to do. But these are just getting the general fertilizer supposedly once a week, although it's probably been 3 weeks. I'm trying to get myself on schedule on things. Next to that, we've got the poblano. And yesterday, again, off camera with other stuff, and wow, I mean, look at the nasturtiums below. That is the cherry pick pepper, and I don't even think I have a tag on that one. I still need to do tags, refreshing some of the tags because they're getting harder to read. But I planted a couple more seeds on either side of it just because that was an existing plant. It still has that one tiny little cherry pick pepper on it, which won't be inedible, but I was hoping that the plant would start to grow and get bigger. It doesn't appear to be doing that. That's why I planted more seeds. Then again, we've got the little pots for all of my backup plants. And again, like I did last year, if I end up with more backup plants than I need, I give them out to neighbors, and they actually really kind of like that. Next to that, I finally planted another pepper in that second to last box, and that was the giant Marconi pepper, so that'll be good. And then at the end of that is the spoon tomatoes, because I ended up with one more tomato plant than I originally planned, but I'm not complaining. Those are the itty bitty, like pea-sized tomatoes, so that'll be interesting, and there are flowers all over that plant. So when the heat comes on in the next couple of days, these puppies are going to get really happy. So good news on this stuff in general. But now what I want to do, before I fix the problem caused by the raccoon, I want to fix the entryway, which I believe is right up here behind these plants. So I'm going to have to reset and we'll take a look. Okay, so here is where I've been suspecting that he's coming in, although it's possible he's just coming in through the garden on the other side. I mean, this is the occasional view here of this side of the hill, and yeah, I mean, we've got rocks. I got a ton of weeds I got to get up here and pull at some point, even up into there. But this is the fence, and this is what the guys next door for this stupid house have done. They undercut the fence. And so I've been trying to figure out, I put up some hardware cloth that I had here, and that seems to be holding, but there's kind of a ramp going down, which is why I put a paver here, hoping that that would kind of block things, but it doesn't look like it's really going to do much. So I got a couple ideas I want to try out. I'm going to go ahead and I'll get the tripod and set up, and we'll see if we can't build something that makes it a little bit more raccoon proof. Time to get inventive here. On my electronics videos recently, I talked about the art of the bodge, which is really it's taking things and just making them work. I had a kit that I built. There was a defect in the actual design, not something that I did, something that as it came from the manufacturer, I figured out what was wrong and I fixed it. Just by adding a wire from one point to another, it solved the problem. That was a bodge, that was a fix, that was a hack. So here I'm basically looking at the gardening version of it. These are the panels that I used last year to build. Let's see, actually, yeah, I'm going to undo part of this. So, and this is the wood that I rescued not all that long ago out of somebody's garbage. So this is one of those panels. I had two of the panels, and I had a couple of pieces, join them together to make a cage, and that was for the cucumbers last year. Didn't work perfectly. Did some work, it helped some. But here's what I'm thinking is basically I'm going to make a double sort of cage thing that I can then lay in place and just make it so that he can't get through that particular area. And I've got enough materials, I can build two of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll put them in place. Okay, so this doesn't look like much, but I put it in. I put the paver back just to make it harder to push aside. And then it occurred to me I used to have a light like that one right there over here. And then I moved the security cameras around and did this and that, and took the one that I had out. It was actually mounted on the tree behind me. But I kind of want to be able to see this area lit up if something comes in here. And it should just help me figure out from the cameras what direction they're coming from. So that's basically a motion sensor with a light, and it's solar rechargeable, so it'll charge up during the day and go off at night. I mean, trigger at night if need be. So hopefully that'll give me more information so I can figure out how to battle this stupid creature. I'm sorry, not stupid. He's doing what he needs to do. I get it, but I mean, I put a lot of effort into my garden. If there was some way I could say, hey, you know, I'll feed you so you don't, you know, as long as you don't mess up my garden, then I'd work something out like that. I'd plant something for him. But there's no communicating with these animals, so yeah. Anyway, that's it for this. Let's see if we can go clean up the mess he made now. Alright, well, let's try and turn negatives into a positive. Yeah, some of the stuff I had gone through yesterday off camera, and I kind of wish now that I had done it on camera so you could see. But I went through and I cataloged what needs a new label, what doesn't seem to be growing, and that's why I put together some of the spares that I did in the backyard. So I think really, you know, it's a setback of about a month, but while I was going through it, let's see if we can't. Unfortunately, my labels are not good enough to really tell you exactly what I have, which is the problem when you grow this much stuff and use these kind of labels. But I mean, this plant seems like I think I've rescued it. I think that was the only one there. And that is, oh, that is a bean. That is the bush bean, I believe. So it looks like it might survive. It was knocked over, but the roots seemed to be intact, and the stem wasn't too badly broken. A little bit got chewed off, but I think I can make do with that. Actually, over here, I pulled out a bunch of weeds. At least I think they were weeds. So I can see the radishes growing in the back, so that's not too bad. And I'm starting to feel the raindrops. This was supposed to be the cucumber and the dill. I don't think that's the cucumber there, but that I think is, that actually, no, I confirmed, walked in the back and confirmed it. Cucumber is one of the spares, so I'm good there. This was already existing and is doing fine. It only looks chewed up because I chopped off a bunch of leaves from the Swiss chard because they were covering up this bed, and this is the bed that I previously thought got pooped in, so I'm hoping that's not a real problem. It looks like there's weeds in there too, but I'm just going to kind of let it grow for now. Up above, this is, I believe it's a spinach lakeside, and then I had trouble finding the second tag because it was buried. But if I go up there, hopefully you can see there is what appears to be a squash plant growing, and it's either squash or it's like a watermelon or something like that. It's got that kind of leaf, and so I'm thinking that that's, I'm hoping that's the straight neck. If it turns out to be a watermelon, I'll have to figure out what to do. Over here I have, I think this is supposed to be the 8-ball. Well, it's the giant noble spinach, which doesn't seem to have survived too well. That's the one on the right there, right behind the tag. We'll see if it grows, but I can do a spare on that one. And then it looks like actually I've got two front to back squash plants, which would probably be the 8-ball, which I also have a spare in the back. So if somehow these didn't survive this, I've got a spare. But I probably should put some more giant noble spinach in there. Over here was, oh, wait a minute. That had the onion. So it said to avoid zucchini? I'm trying to remember now. There was something to avoid. If you look up companion planting, you'll see what I'm talking about. In here was supposed to be the patty pan, which I've now got 3 spares in the back because we really want the patty pan. So I'll probably keep one growing, even if I have to put it up in one of the grow bags up there. That grow bag all the way over on the left doesn't seem to be growing anything, even though it has a tag which is already washed off. So I'm going to have to look that one up. Figure out what that was supposed to be. Probably another bean, but the one to the right of it is actually a bean which is growing, and everything else seems to be okay up there, although oddly enough the onion looks like it got chewed on. So that's roughly what all is going on, and I moved some of the pots that were kind of getting in my way. I moved them up there. They're either empty or they're just spare plants, and I just got them out of the way. So overall, I mean, the garden survives. There's, I mean, look at the nasturtium, you know, and I showed you the back and what all that looks like as far as the tomatoes and peppers, which weren't touched. So I'm happy with that, and I think I'll wrap it up for today. That's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Well, it's Saturday morning, but I'm not sure how good it is. I think I'm going to have a title for this video before too long. Dagnabit. Came out to put up a couple of replacement signs, tags for the plants where they'd worn out, and that's all dug up. That's all dug up. That's all dug up. That's all dug up. I gotta figure something out. But I'm gonna wash all the cars first while I'm thinking about it. Alright, the stuff that I had on my schedule for today is almost done. I got the cars washed. I've been behind on that, so it took a lot longer than I thought it was gonna take, but it's done. And now I'm gonna deal with this because the next thing on the schedule for today, the original schedule for today, was the fertilizer, the general purpose fertilizer on all these plants. But I don't want to water and then have to try and figure out how to get this all back. I also just noticed something snapped this. So somebody did suggest maybe it was birds digging for worms, but I don't think that's it, because if they were digging for worms, they wouldn't, I mean, they're not big enough to do that kind of damage. The other thing, though, is I put my little pill camera over here to watch what's going on. So let's get this reset again, and then we'll get to fertilizing, and then I can take a break. Alright, I feel a little better now. My back hurts, but what they say about doing a full backup, that's basically what I'm doing here. I put pots in front of all of the plants that I am doing a backup for. There are other plants in the back, that's why I kept going back and forth there, and then there were a couple of seed packets I couldn't find. Now they've been refiled where they should be. And then there's one extra. Right here. Mainly done because I think I actually have it up on the 3rd level, but whoever this rascal is that's doing this, this varmint, is not attacking the stuff on the top. So I have up there a provider green bean. Wow, that's going to be really hard to see, sorry. But so I just decided to go ahead and plant a couple of seeds there. Actually, in most cases, I planted multiple seeds. I can thin it down to whatever, thin it down to whatever's most viable and plant that. So if things do actually get torn out, I will have these in the back as my backup. And we're getting better sun in the back right now, this point in the year. But I know from last year's experience, I went on vacation in July and came back a week later with the sprinklers running and you know, I mean, everything was pretty much automated. And I came back and it was amazing just how big everything got in like 1 week. And it was like a really hot, sunny week. So we've got sun coming tomorrow. That's why I've been really pushing today and why my voice is starting to go. But I basically got, you know, almost a full backup. Everything on the lower and middle level. The upper level I'm not as worried about right now. Although it does look like one of the pepper plants may have gotten chewed on a little bit, but that may not be the end of the world because those were just kind of like, I bought those thinking they weren't quite so hot. And well, rather than toss them out, I went ahead and planted them. So I could also probably dig them up and plant them in a slightly different location, but one thing at a time. I've got a backup. I'm going to put my seeds away. I'm going to put this packet in the lower mid, which actually is not correct, but and then let's get to the actual fertilizer and watering this stuff in. You know what just occurred to me? I outlasted my camera. It didn't shut down due to heat, and the battery didn't run out, and I'm not out of memory, at least not yet. Yeah, I've gotten everything done that I wanted to do today, plus the extras, and the backup of everything. The only thing left really is to create a bunch more tags that I can put into all of the backup plants and then put them in the back, but I'll do that off camera. So I think that's it for today, folks. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good Sunday morning to you, and it is. Let's go take a look at and see if our friend has showed up for a 3rd night in a row. I've already looked, I already know. Nope. No more destruction. Now, that doesn't mean I can rest on my laurels here. There is something that I've thought of a couple of things that'll help this whole situation. So let's actually go to the back real quick. And here is where I've got all my spares. Everything's labeled except for a couple of the patty pans because I put 3 patty pans all in the same type of container. So I've got those, and then additionally I got these over here, but that meant I had to move some of Mom's plants over just to have a place to put them. That's where the idea comes in. Let's go back out front. Okay, idea number 1. If you combine or the weight of one of those little pots. Not a match at all for any kind of, I mean, just a tiny little squirrel could knock one of those things over. But you combine the weight, and it becomes harder to knock it over. And then it occurred to me, if I put them in one of my planter boxes, that'll make it even heavier. And for that matter, actually, now that I look at it, got these pieces left over from cutting the capstones out front to make that curve a couple of episodes ago. What did I call that one? Back to front. Old job done. That was the episode. I'll put a tag up here in the upper right hand corner. Yeah, so anyway, I could use those to weigh it down even more. I'm going to get the dirt out of there. I'm going to fill what I can into this one, and then I'm going to build another one so I can put the rest of them, and I may have more room to set up even more spares, which, like I said before, if I end up with too many spares, I just give them out to neighbors and they love it. So, you know, hey, free plant, you know. So that's one idea. The other idea is I've got these solar-powered motion sensing lights. Basically, this right here is the motion sensor. It's a passive infrared PIR. And then this is just a bunch of LEDs. And inside there's, well, you can't see it. Inside there's a battery and a little bit of circuitry. This is just an on-off switch. And what I can do is I can tap into the voltage going to this thing and set up a buzzer. I did that once before, and I'm not sure how much it helped. But my thought is this: if I set one up, actually I already have one, but I already had it just up there just to put some light on the scene if we come out to take out the garbage. Well, that one's pointed right at the garden. So if I replace this one, I can still have the lights come on, but I can also have a buzzer come on. And so what I can do is I can actually run some very thin wire, which you almost won't be able to see, down over up to here, and then somehow drop down over the thing, and then run the wires back this way. I can set up basically a speaker right in the middle. I might even just set up the speaker up there just initially, just to see what the reaction is if some animal comes in here. But basically at night that would trigger, when the light comes on, the buzzer would also come on. Not only that, there's an alarm on my little camera. So that should be going off when there is activity, but last night there was no activity, so I can't verify that I've got scared animals. The idea is just to scare them off, not to hurt them, just to scare them off. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll build that, but I'll end up building that probably as a separate video on the electronic side of the channel. So that'll be an interesting hack video for my Bitman's Electronics Lab Constructions and Hacks belch. Yeah, I realize what that sounds like. But anyway, that's where I am. We're getting close enough to the 30-minute mark on this video, but I'm just gonna go ahead and build this stuff and then show you once it's done. And I'll do the electronics thing this afternoon. Hopefully get it up by tonight. There's already a couple of switches on it too. I'll show that in that other video. So yeah, I have a plan. I'm feeling a little bit better about all this, so we're going to end up ending this video on a positive note. Okay, so moving forward, I've got the original box. I put a bunch of pots in there, and I realized I had these offcuts from the oh, I already mentioned that, from the blocks out front. So I put them in to weigh it down. This, actually I had to put pieces on the end because this was rocking back and forth too much because of the way it was designed. If you look at it carefully, if you back up just a little bit, you can see what I'm talking about, or maybe I'll just grab a screenshot and show it to you. This one is basically the same thing but bottomless. So I don't actually need a bottom on this for what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to create a situation where it's hard to move this stuff. So hopefully whatever varmint's doing this isn't going to be able to get into those. I then had a couple left over, the beans, and I put them in the back, and then I was like, how am I going to keep them from falling over? it occurred to me I have the rocks that were in here, these river rocks. I piled them up back there in between, so that should keep them somewhat secure. So as long as I don't add any more, I think I'll be okay. If that takes care of that, then the tomatoes, I had looked up it's called tomato spot, I think, something like that. But and basically I can just kind of rip off the infected leaves and I'll watch it and see what happens. I also discovered there was a little bit of it back there on the genuine. So that's that. And then I remembered that on these units here, I had already hacked one before. This was for a Christmas thing. We had some little animated dolls, but their original control system had died, so I basically set up switches so I could turn the solar cell on and off, and I could turn the I could turn the light on and off. Whoops, I guess something like that. Anyway, I could, if I do it right, I can get this to actually light up. And then this coming out here was going to the actual animation, so it provides the power. So I'm already halfway there, or more than halfway really. All I got to do is add the buzzer to this and figure out how to wire it up to everything. Get something set up out here. There you go. Is that even showing? Huh. Interesting. The camera is out of sync with the light. It is on, but it is out of sync with the light. This is what happens if I... Wow, that got bright. And I can't turn it... Well, let's turn it off. Is that coming on? I don't think that's showing. Maybe it is. Anywho, I'll go ahead and wire this thing up. I'll get it all set to go. So I'm feeling a lot better because I've got ideas to fix the problems that I have, and you know, we'll see if they work, but at least it's something to go forward with. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video because at this point we're probably past the 30-minute mark, and I don't want to make these too long. So thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself. Take care of the ones around you, and may your thumb be green. You just have to wait for the next episode to see how this works out.